Welcome back to Superhuman Customs. I'm Stephen Human, your host, and we got another Carapax as a base. You guys will remember that we did Lex Luthor not too long ago. I absolutely love that guy, and I was able to get the Carapax for 11 bucks at Target on clearance. Well, I got this one Black Friday, $9. So you can't beat that. $9 Black Friday. We're gonna turn this guy into this guy. All right. So we're gonna make him the Batman Mech from Endgame. Not Marvel's Endgame, which was really good, but from the Batman Endgame, which I didn't read, I didn't really care about it. This is what we're gonna make him into. And we're just gonna experiment. This guy's very, he's got a lot of just smoothness to it. I really like this buck. We're gonna experiment, we're gonna play around, we're gonna have a little bit of fun. And I'm not quite sure how we're gonna make everything work, but we're gonna find out together. So let's jump right in and let's make a mech suit Batman. Before we get too crazy with this guy, I'm going to show you some of the stuff we're planning on doing. So I'm going to take this Batarang, and that's going to be a symbol right here. We'll glue that on. We'll move his head. Now, I got a couple options, right? So I've got this Batman head, because this guy, if you take it off, he actually does have a Batman head there, which is cool. So we could have this armored Batman head. But if we wanted to have something that was a little bit more along these lines, let me just let him fall. I do have this thing, which the head could go into, which I could fit on top of his head. Or I also have this from General Zod. So I don't know, this would look more technical, more like the body. So I'm just kind of debating right now. I've gone ahead and done a little prep work on him. I sanded down this section right here so we can glue on the symbol, which I've spray painted black. It's drying right now. Then I cut off the tops of these, and I'm going to insert them here, and they will become the little cannons that are on his shoulders. And it'll also allow me to move them and stuff. It'll give me some freedom. I also trimmed off these bad boys that were back here on the back, and I'm not sure. Maybe they'll just end up in the extra store. And then this head fits nicely, nice and perfect. And I've also spray painted the dome that will go over the top. So now let's get gluing. These turned out pretty good, how they fit in there, nice and glued. Now we're just gonna paint them up. Just using my Vallejo Aquamarine Blue. And this is gonna be the base blue that we're going to use. This is a great paint. It goes on beautifully, and we will be able to really make this guy just look great. So we'll start out darker, as we always do, as we always try to anyway. The more experience I've gotten, the more I realize how great that actually is to start out dark and go light, how much freedom it gives you. And so that's what we're going to do here. Start out with this darker blue. And then we will do our metallic over the top, just like we did with Lex Luthor. Except his was, of course, green. And just like with the Lex Luthor, this is one of the most fun parts because the change happens so quickly. This is such a great paint. It goes on, it sticks instantly, and it makes an instant change to this Carapax figure. And just realize this part is going to take a little bit of time. Even though it seems like it goes really fast as you're going over this, it does take a while. So just be prepared for that, because I'm doing it for coverage right now, but I'm going to go through with a smaller brush and get all the detail areas. So just be aware this is going to take a little bit of time. So, turn on some music and just enjoy yourself a little bit. Got all the big stuff. Now I need to get the little stuff. And this really is a longer process because with him there's so many textures. It just takes a while to get the paint in all the places that it needs to go. And there's slop and there's all that stuff, and so it takes longer than most figures, and that's okay. Because if this ends up anything at all like the Lex Luthor, I know I am going to be incredibly happy.
I'm going over the feet in these areas that I left with the orangish, and I'm going over it with a dark gray that matches pretty closely the gray of the other areas, because I'm going to go over with a gunmetal gray once this is dry and over all the other areas. And these need to be this dark gray. And so it'll give it a metallic once it's dry, which will look really nice. Before I go in with the blue, I'm going to do a light gunmetal gray over some of these areas here, just to see how it's all going to look. You can see it's super light. I just wanted to hit those edges. Doesn't take much paint at all, but it will get you the metallic look that you're after. I'm liking that. Just super light. I don't want it to be the gunmetal gray. I just want it to have the metallic look. That's all. Now we've arrived at my favorite part, the metallicizing. I've been looking at this guy for the last couple of days, and I've just been like groaning inwardly because he looks so much like a toy. And it's the metallic that does it. So I'm just going with my standard metallic paint, which is the acrylic blue from Deco Art. It's just a craft paint. I bought it for like $3, not even that. And it works really, really well with light coats. That's what I found with all of these more crafty paints that aren't Vallejo, is that if you go on thin, they work beautifully. If you try to go thick, then it's gonna turn out bad. It is not going to work. Just look at my flash figure, my movie flash figure that we did a couple months ago, where I did the metallic and thick, and it just did not work. So nice and thin, and you can see he's taken on a whole new life. Now that we got that first metallic layer on, let's go through more thickly with a second. And we're just going to do a single wipe. This will give us the look that I want, which is, you know, those other areas, the higher areas getting hit. And it's lightening them up a little bit. We want to do this in layers simply because it's going to give us a better look. And this is just the next layer that we're going for. What I'm noticing is that this technique is not working as well as it did with the Lex Luthor. And I think it's because of the contrast in the paints, where the green contrasted more with the base green that I used. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through and I'm going to add a wash to these in-between areas, and I'm going to darken them up in order to add the contrast that I think we need with this figure, because he's just looking too much like a toy, honestly. And I don't want that. I want it to have that realism. And so you'll find that sometimes with the paints you're using, they're just not, it doesn't have the contrast that you want, in which case that's why you have other tools like this that you can go through and you can start to use to add that kind of contrast that is going to make this guy look the way you want him to look. So you can see now we're starting to get a little bit of contrast. I'll play around with this a little bit more and see how much more we need, but I think this is going to give me what I'm after. This is giving me more of the look that I wanted. With the Lex Luthor, it was very natural because of the different colors of the paint, the different contrasts. We're just not getting that on this one. But going through with this wash, I'm just hitting these lines and darkening things up, and it's giving me contrast. You guys know me. Contrast is so important when it comes to this sort of stuff. And sometimes it can be subtle, and sometimes you need a little bit more in your face. But either way, you need it if you want these to look good and look like they're real. So I'm just going in here where grime and stuff would get, and darkening it up. Just that simple. So I found these weird, they were at the top of a pen of my kids, a cheap like dollar store pen. And since we are going with the more, you know, endgame police officer look of this Batman, I'm going to paint the insides red and blue, and we're going to glue them to the top of his light cannons so that he has like the police light look. And if I paint the inside, it'll give it more of like a light look. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. I got the police lights glued in place, and now we're going to glue the bat symbol in place. And I'm going to leave it out like how it is. I'm not going to try and bend it or anything like that. I think it'll look cool kind of as a, you know, a piece of metal or a piece of armor.
I took off the little light things. They were looking like, honestly, they were looking like nipples. I did not like them at all, so I just removed them. They were a bit much. Now, this thing that I had on here, I could not get anything to stay on it to work, and so it's just not going to work. But what I'm thinking about is this, but having it upside down. And so I'm going to paint this in the colors of the original and see if this works. So again, this is all experimentation. It may not turn out, but we're going to give it a try. Just going to take this area, paint it black. It's about as simple as it gets. I'm never going to use this thing. This is actually the mask to a General Zod from the 2013 Man of Steel movie. And I never liked it on his head, and so I kept it off, and it's just been in the drawer. And it's nice when you find stuff like this that you can use later, because currently it serves absolutely no purpose other than taking up space. So I'm not sure how often I'm going to display this guy with this head on, because I think the Batman head is cooler, but I want to have it so we can hold it or something. And I think I found the bunny ears, the Batman ears. These are fingers, like arms, off of a Dr. Octopus, a 12-inch Dr. Octopus that I've had for close to 25 years. And I can't display them with the arms because they are too crooked and stuff. So these have broken off since then. So I'm just going to glue these in place, and we're going to see how this all looks together. Now let's dust it with a little bit of silver. And I think we may be pretty close to done unless I decide to do something else to it. Because at this point, I honestly don't know what else to do. But we'll see. I'll take a look and we'll figure out if we're done with this guy or if there's something else we want to do. Finishing touch, I'm just doing a quick little dusting of silver over the top of the blue, because I think that it's going to add just a little bit more metallic feel to things, and he needs it. I've been debating on whether or not to add the holes on these shoulder pads like how they have on the original, and I've decided just to give it a try. So I'm just going to drill a few holes and let's see how it looks. That actually looks pretty good. Let's do a few more. Those actually don't look too bad. I'm kind of glad I did it. Well, something a little bit different. This guy, he's obviously way different than he looked in the comics. Much more technical, much more detailed, but I really like how he turned out. And you can take off his mask there, and he is just Batman. So if you get a Carapax for $10, man, this is definitely worth it. And if you didn't want to go with the with this look of, you know, the endgame Batman mech suit, you could just make it into any different kind of Batman. You know, you could make it gray, you could make it banged up, you could make it a different version of a Hellbat. This really gives you a lot of different options, and you can make it unique and just kind of your own, like I did. So, this is my endgame Batman. I'm happy. I might have to get the Jim Gordon now and put him in front of it. We'll see. It's not my favorite version, but it is fun to have stuff like this on the shelves. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Stephen Human. I hope you enjoyed this. Check out stephenhuman.com for all of my novels, because I am a sci-fi thriller novelist, and I will see you guys next week.